Have you ever walked into an IKEA store, wandered through their labyrinth of neatly arranged furniture and accessories, and found yourself thinking, I could totally build that myself? You walk out with a flat-packed sofa or a bookshelf, feeling not only proud of your purchase, but convinced that the DIY assembly was a huge accomplishment. Sure, you've just spent hours putting together a piece of furniture with confusing instructions and tiny screws, but somehow you feel attached to it. It's yours, in every sense of the word. This phenomenon, known as the IKEA Effect, is not just about feeling good about your new bookshelf. It's a clever psychological trick that businesses, particularly IKEA, have turned into a marketing and sales goldmine. The IKEA Effect reveals how businesses exploit the way we think, feel, and make decisions. It's a psychological hack that makes us value things we've worked for far more than things that were handed to us, even if the end result is objectively the same. But why is it that we can spend hours assembling a flat-packed sofa only to feel a sense of pride once it's done? How does this relate to the products we buy? And why are we so willing to pay for the effort, frustration, and sometimes even the confusion that comes with assembling it ourselves? What is the IKEA Effect? The IKEA Effect is a term coined by psychologists Michael Norton, Daniel Mokon, and Dan Ariely in 2011 after they conducted a series of experiments to explore the relationship between effort and value. In short, the IKEA Effect suggests that people tend to place a disproportionately high value on products they have had a hand in assembling or creating, even if the end result is no better than something they could have bought pre-assembled. The researchers found that participants were willing to pay more for furniture they had assembled themselves compared to the same piece of furniture assembled by someone else. In one experiment, individuals who assembled IKEA boxes rated them as more valuable than those who received pre-assembled ones, despite both products being identical. In essence, when you build something yourself, even if it's just a bookshelf or a coffee table, you feel invested in it. It's not just a piece of furniture anymore. It's a symbol of your effort, time, and energy. You've added something intangible, even if it's just a sense of accomplishment. The IKEA Effect shows how businesses have learned to tap into this psychological bias to make their customers feel more connected to their products. Why does it work? The IKEA Effect is rooted in cognitive psychology, specifically how we perceive our effort and ownership. Several psychological mechanisms come into play when you're building that IKEA bookshelf. Effort justification. This principle, rooted in cognitive dissonance theory, states that we tend to overvalue things we've worked hard to obtain, even if the result isn't objectively better than the alternative. The more effort you put into assembling the furniture, the more proud you feel of your work, making you more likely to believe the product is of higher quality than if someone else had done it for you. Endowment effect. This is the idea that we place a higher value on things simply because we own them. When you've invested your time and effort into building something, you begin to feel a sense of ownership and attachment, even though it's a product you paid for. Your work makes the object feel like a part of you, boosting its perceived value. Sense of control. There's a psychological need for control, the ability to shape outcomes based on our own actions. When you assemble something yourself, you gain a sense of mastery and control over the object. The act of making the item your own by putting it together, literally and figuratively, creates a feeling of empowerment. Pride of accomplishment. Completing a task, no matter how small, triggers the release of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. When you successfully finish assembling that chair or table, you get a rush of satisfaction and pride, even if it's just a simple piece of furniture. That emotional payoff reinforces the connection between your effort and the value you assign to the product. How IKEA masters the IKEA Effect. IKEA has built its entire business model around the IKEA Effect. By encouraging customers to engage in the assembly process, IKEA taps into these psychological principles to increase the perceived value of its products. But how exactly do they do this? Self-assembly. As a selling point, IKEA doesn't just sell furniture, it sells the experience of creating it. The DIY aspect of IKEA furniture is part of its appeal. The company often markets its products as affordable, customizable, and a way for customers to express their creativity. When you buy a piece of IKEA furniture, you're not just buying an object, you're buying the chance to create something yourself. The experience is as valuable as the result. Flat-packed, convenient, and cheap. IKEA's flat-pack design is a brilliant business model. It reduces shipping costs and storage space, but it also plays into the idea that customers are building their furniture. Even though the instructions can be confusing, the satisfaction that comes from completion overshadows the minor frustrations of assembly. This encourages repeat customers who enjoy the process. Design simplicity. IKEA products are designed with the understanding that customers will be assembling them at home. The simplicity of the designs and the intuitive step-by-step instructions create an experience that's relatively straightforward. They keep it just challenging enough to maintain the sense of accomplishment without being overwhelming. Feedback loops. As you assemble the pieces, you see the progress you're making. This incremental progress feeds into your sense of accomplishment. The more you build, the closer you get to the finished product, reinforcing your emotional connection with it. Branding and identity. Over the years, IKEA has built an identity as a DIY, affordable, and creative brand. The store's layout, its product names, and even its in-store experience encourage people to see themselves as part of something bigger. When you buy something from IKEA, you don't just feel like a customer, you feel like a co-creator. Beyond IKEA, how the IKEA effect is exploited everywhere. Though IKEA is the most famous example of the IKEA effect, the underlying principle has been widely adopted across many industries. From fast food chains to tech companies, businesses are using similar strategies to influence consumer behavior and increase the perceived value of their products. Fast food restaurants. Have you ever built your own sandwich or burger at a fast food joint? Places like Subway, Chipotle, and Shake Shack let customers customize their meals, which creates a sense of personal investment in the product. When you're the one putting the ingredients together, you're likely to believe the meal tastes better than if it were pre-made for you. Tech gadgets and DIY kits. Some tech companies have capitalized on the IKEA effect by offering DIY kits or products that require a bit of assembly, like certain computer hardware, toys, or even tech gadgets. When you build your own phone case or camera, you're more likely to feel a sense of pride in it and perceive it as more valuable, even if it's essentially just a ready-made product. Fitness. Many fitness companies have started incorporating the idea of self-improvement into their products. Companies like Peloton or Nike don't just sell workout equipment or apparel, they sell the experience of self-growth. By purchasing their products, you're buying the feeling that you're actively contributing to your own well-being and health. Crafting and DIY brands. Arts and crafts companies have long capitalized on the idea of creating something yourself. From knitting and scrapbooking to model making and painting, DIY projects are designed to provide a sense of accomplishment. And when you create something from scratch, you feel a stronger bond with the object than if you bought it from a store. The dark side, when the IKEA effect becomes manipulation. While the IKEA effect can be fun and empowering, it can also be a bit of a double-edged sword. Some companies have learned how to exploit this psychological phenomenon to push products that are difficult to assemble or come with hidden costs, ultimately taking advantage of consumers. For example, some furniture companies intentionally design assembly instructions that are overly complicated or confusing, knowing that customers will feel a sense of pride and ownership when they finally succeed. Similarly, some products are designed to seem like they offer more value simply because they require more effort on the consumer's part. In these cases, businesses can manipulate our brains to feel that we've earned something more than we actually have, which raises questions about ethical marketing practices. The bottom line, the IKEA effect has taught businesses a powerful lesson in consumer psychology. Effort equals value. When you invest time, energy, and even frustration into creating something, it becomes inherently more valuable to you, even if the end result isn't much different from something you could have bought fully assembled. Whether it's assembling your own furniture, customizing a sandwich, or building your own tech gadget, the IKEA effect is everywhere. It's a reminder that, in the world of business, perception is everything. And for businesses, it's not just about selling products. It's about selling an experience. An experience that, for many of us, makes the product feel more worthwhile than it actually is.